Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're going to be taking a first look at a new digital version of a classic board game, and that is Axis and Allies 1942 Online. This game is developed by Breamdog and is a remake of the classic board game and conversion of the classic board game by, was it Hasbro or Avalon Hill? They're both involved here, but I can't remember who the original developer was. I know that I played a version of Axis and Allies Online, a digital copy, some 20 years ago, I think it was, and that was a Hasbro game. But they haven't really done a lot of digital versions of Axis and Allies since then, so I don't have a lot to say about this. It's Axis and Allies. It's a classic game. This is a first look video. This is my first look at the game. It is currently available in early access on Steam, so it's not finished yet. But I wanted to take a quick look at it and see how it runs, how it plays, and what we think about it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump in and we're going to play as a new game. We're going to set this game up as THG2. We're going to play as the Axis because I think it's a little bit easier to dictate actions as the Axis. We're going to play as the Germans and the Japanese. You can actually just click on whatever country we want to play, so we can make any particular country human. We could play all the countries, so we could play none of the countries and watch the computer play itself. We could play as one of the Axis. We could play as another Axis. We could play as just the Soviets and the British. You know, you have total customization in this game over who you play as, which is nice. Like if you just wanted to play as the British and the Americans and let the Soviets and Germans sort of fight things out themselves, and you can kind of simulate the Western Allies, you could, or whatever. If you don't want to play in the Pacific, you could do that too. You could just play as the Soviets or the British. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Oh, actually, I don't have anyone set as human, so we're going to play as the Axis. We're going to go ahead and jump in here. All right, so you can see here we're starting off combat move as the Soviets. What happens if I hit follow player? All right, looks like it'll zoom in. So we can see here the Soviets are launching attacks in Western Russia and the Ukraine to start things off. You can see the map shows where they're all attacking. There's combat phase here in Western Russia. I don't actually see anything that happened there, but it looks like they took Western Russia from us. Meanwhile, they attacked in Ukraine, and it doesn't look like they took Ukraine. We can see they're moving different units around their map and where they're moving them to. And then they're mobilizing, which I'm assuming is them deploying their new units, and now it's on to the German phase. So the German phase starts off with a purchasing phase. We have 41 MPPs that we're allowed to spend this turn. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to purchase some industry. So we're going to purchase 2 industry points because I think building up our economy more than anything else is the most important thing at this stage. And then we're also going to purchase 3 infantry units, I think, to make sure we can defend against the Russians. So I really want to... Defense 2 is pretty solid. They're not as good as tanks. Actually, maybe we'll just do 1 and 1. We'll do 1 armor, 1 infantry. And we'll end that phase. So you can see we're buying 1 infantry, 1 armor, and 2 factories. And then we're moving into the combat phase here. So we're going to go ahead and zoom out. And we can move around using the WSAD keys. So as the Germans, we have submarines here in the Atlantic. I don't know if this is like a... What is this? So we can move these guys here. Oops. Zone 9. So we'll move them into this region. Okay, so you get some benefits from the submarines. It reads out what those benefits are. Right now, the Germans have some forces in North Africa, but probably not enough to overwhelm the British there. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to move some of our artillery. Oh, this isn't the move phase. This is a combat phase, so I can't actually move them if they're not going to fight. Let's try and fight the British Navy here. And let's move some of these other forces forward here to... Oh, I can't move them quite yet. Unless we can counterattack these guys. I don't know if I have enough strength to do that. What if we move all 3 of these guys here? So move all 3 infantry here into Western Russia. and a counterattack against the Soviets there. Actually, they have no one in. Oh, they do. Then we're going to go ahead and move all 3 of our troops in Finland into Karelia. They have an industrial facility here. This is where Leningrad is. So we're going to try and take this from the Soviets. Infantry attacks at 1, but defends at 2. So 3 versus 1. They'll have the advantage in terms of hit points, but in terms of numbers, we'll have the advantage. We can also attack through here to Leningrad, and then we can go ahead. So it'll actually be 4 versus 1. And then our armor in the Baltic states can actually move 2 hexes. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And the armor that we have in Poland will move there as well. Our air units will also move against Western Russia. So we're really trying to go all out against Western Russia. Our fighters can attack there too. We're going. This is a major offensive right from the start. Armor can't move to, or armor can, but nothing else can. It doesn't look like. So we're going to really try and crush the Soviet forces here opposite of us in Western Russia. It looks like they got 4 infantry, 2 artillery, 1 tank, 1 anti-air. We're going in with 3 infantry, 2 tanks, 2 fighters, maybe a 3rd fighter from down here, as well as a bomber. We're going to go ahead and send the armor from the Bulgarian-Romania region. And we're going to try and just cram Ukraine with infantry here from Bulgaria, Romania, and Poland, as well as whatever else can reach. I think the armor in Germany can reach there as well. But these other guys can't do anything there. Meanwhile, I'm actually going to attack these guys over here with our ships. We can actually move our submarines over here too. So we're going to try and isolate the British Navy here in the North Atlantic here. See if we can destroy this British battleship and transport. Meanwhile, I do have some fighters up here. These guys can also move toward Western Russia, so we can actually move the fighters in Norway over there. And I think the fighters in Northwest Europe can move there too. So we're moving our entire force here in this region for the Germans. I don't think we're going to attack with anything else. And I don't really have a lot of other options. So Germany's moving its units. We're not Japan yet. So let's see how that plays out. Now, the one thing I think was a little bit weird is that we didn't actually see the combat results when the Russians attacked us. So it'll be interesting to see if we see the combat results when we attack the Russians. Now, you can see it's actually they might have more forces here in the Caucasus than they do in Western Russia. So we're focusing on Western Russia, but they could come in here in Ukraine and flank us. That's why next turn when we get to our movement phase, we're going to move these 2 infantry, and we're going to move these 2 armors so that we should have 3 armor and at least 4 infantry in Ukraine against the Soviet counteroffensive. And presumably they may move against our troops here in Moscow as well. So the 2 attacks we're making right now are against Karelia, S.S.R, and against Western Russia. So we'll go ahead and end the phase. Combat move summary there. So I'm assuming we're going to actually see the combat results now. Yep, round 1 of combat. So do I not see? Okay, here we go. Your army is attacking Karelia S.S.R. General combat. 4 infantry versus 1. So we need a 1. We've got 4 die rolls to try and get a 1. We didn't get anything there. So now the Soviets get to roll. So the defender roll, they need a 2 or less. Okay, so I've got to manually click the dice to roll every time. He got a 5. So I go ahead and continue the roll. I'm just going to kind of keep attacking until we get a 1. Shouldn't take too long, right? All right, so he'll roll. Oh, we got a 1. So we got one of he killed one of our units. I don't know what this means. Oh, I guess I have to pick a unit to die. So now we've got 3 versus 1. So we'll go ahead and roll our attack. Give me a 1. There we go. We got him. All right, so we're going to take Karelia, which includes Leningrad and an industrial facility. So that should hurt their economy and also give us a boost by taking that place. He can roll again, but even if he kills one of our units, we'll still take it. He doesn't, so we lose 1 unit. He loses 1, and Germany wins a victory. In terms of the value of the losses, both sides lose 1 unit, which is worth 3 IPCs. So Karelia falls to the Germans, and the Soviets really have nothing nearby to counterattack either, so it might allow us to move further into Archangel. It also is going to cause a loss of 2 IPCs in terms of their economy. Meanwhile, we're going to go into Western Russia now, where the major battle is going to be fought, and is going to put us on the doorstep of Moscow, so we'll see how the AI treats this if they lose. Air defense defending anti-aircraft roll now. They have to roll a 1, I think it looks like, to shoot down aircraft. Do they get to roll 1 per aircraft? Why do they get 3 die rolls? Crap. Alright, so it looks like we're going to lose 1 fighter unit. Okay. Alright, so we'll continue. And now it's going to be the actual combat here. So we'll go ahead and roll. We've got 4 or less on the bombers, 3 or less on the tanks and fighters, and 1 or less on the infantry. So I think that might have been the infantry that was rolling. I wasn't really paying attention. Alright, so it looks like we got 2 hits there. Or actually, 3 hits there. It'll go against their infantry. And then we'll roll with our bombers here. Bad luck, a 6. We needed a 4 or less, and all we got was a 6. So now the Soviets get to roll 6 2 or lesses. There's 1 hit, 2 hits. So we'll go ahead and take those against the infantry, which are our least valuable and on the attack and just in general. Now their tank rolls 3 or less. They got a 4, good. So then we'll go ahead and press the attack. We'll roll our single infantryman. He didn't do anything. We get our 7 3 or lesses. 1 hit, 2 hits. I'm confused. Why did I only see those? Oh, that was weird. Okay, it looks like they got 2 hits. So we'll have to take casualties there. We'll take 1 air and 1 tank. Or 1 air and 1 infantry. Okay. So their armor is going to roll. Looks like they got another hit. So we'll take that against one of our tanks. Alright, so did they lose everything? Looks like they did. So at the end of the day, we win. We did lose a fair number of casualties. We actually lost more value than they did, 35 IPCs versus 31. But we took Western Russia. It is susceptible to a counterattack from the Caucasus and from Moscow as well. But if they do that, I mean they're going to do it, right? So we just have to be mindful of that. I'm not sure what that 4 means, other than I'm guessing maybe if we move submarines there, it hurts their economy to a level of 4. So I think that does it for the combat phase. So we'll go ahead and move next. Oh, shoot, I forgot about the naval combat. Alright, so Navy is attacking Sea Zone 7. Looks like we got 4 submarines versus 1 enemy submarine? Surprise submarine. Oh, no, we got more than that. Alright, so we'll go ahead and roll the dice. Looks like we got 2 hits. 1 against their sub, 1 against... Was that a battleship, it looks like? Surprise strike, defending submarine roll now. They missed. We also have a battleship we moved into the zone as well. Which missed. Lovely. Alright, so they get a roll. They missed 2. Nice. Alright, so the battleship's doing... Or I guess ours is a cruiser. Theirs is a battleship. So we'll press the attack again. Surprise it. Do we really get another surprise strike? I mean, we didn't really... I don't know. Alright, looks like we didn't hit anything. Maybe our cruiser will hit something. It does. Nice. Alright, so that should finish off their battleship, I think. They'll get a defending roll. And they do get a hit. So we'll take that against... I don't think our cruisers can take 2 hits, so we'll take a hit on one of our subs. So we lose a sub, but they lose the battleship. And the transport, I think. So successful victory there. 33 IPC losses for them, only 6 for us. So a very good result there against the British. North of England, we destroyed the British Navy. If only it was... Well, at least the British Navy in the North Atlantic. If only it was that easy. And I think that's our only other... Oh, no, we got the Eastern Mediterranean. I forgot about that. I'm kind of worried now that I attacked with a cruise... No, actually, we do have a battleship. It's a battleship versus one of their destroyers. And it does nothing. Great. But neither do they, so we'll press the attack. And we hit them. Alright, so they're destroyed. They get their counterattack. We'll see if we take any damage. And we don't. So there you go. We won that battle as well. So another naval defeat for the Allies, you can see. 8 IPC versus 0. So we take the Eastern Mediterranean from them. We can move those ships to the Western Mediterranean here and try and make the Mediterranean a allied lake, if you will. We are now into... Is this the combat? It's still the combat phase, so we'll go ahead and end that. You can see a summary of combat. Soviets lost 40, we lost 44, the British lost 35. So we inflicted 75 IPC damage against the Allies for a loss of 44 of our own. We lost 2 fighters, 4 infantry, 1 tank, 1 sub. They lost 1 battleship, 1 destroyer, 1 transport. The Russians lost 5 infantry, 2 artillery, 1 anti-aircraft, 1 tank, and 1 submarine. They lost a submarine? Non-combatant moves for the Germans. Okay, so this is going to be important for us. We need to reallocate some of our forces. So I think we'll move 1 infantry to Finland. We will move some of our armor. We'll move our armor in Germany to Ukraine. Both of them there. Move our infantry to Ukraine. Move our infantry from Poland to Ukraine. Move some of these guys around. Move 1 of our armor from France. I don't think the British have the transports to actually land in Europe after that naval defeat. I can't move them. I can't move the other guys who already attacked either. So we'll do that. Meanwhile, I don't think they have much... So we'll move this artillery out of Algeria. And then we'll move this... Can we move this guy onto a transport? Doesn't look like it. Alright, so... Yeah, that's the situation. We're reinforcing in Ukraine. They'll probably counterattack and retake Western Russia, I would guess, with a considerable force there. That would make the most sense. So we'll have to see how this plays out. That might have been over-aggressive for us on our first turn. You have unlanded aircraft that could be landed. You must ensure that all aircraft can land before moving. So how do I land? Must land my aircraft flying... Oh. Yeah. Okay. I don't... That's weird. I have to, like, click each individual one that I want to land. So I guess I'm landing them in Belarusia, which makes Western Russia even more likely to fall. But that's okay. I'd rather keep those units safe. So there's a summary of our movements. We'll go to the next phase. Mobilization, which I'm assuming is deploying our new troops. So we've got 1 infantry and 1 armor to deploy. Everything has to deploy to Germany by the looks of it. And then the industry can deploy anywhere but Germany. So it looks like we can't deploy industry outside. We can't double up on factories. So we'll put 1 in Poland. Maybe 1 in France. I don't know. Maybe this was a waste. Maybe that's just where I can deploy troops. I would have assumed it would have increased our economy, but I guess now that I remember the rules, you only get the economy based on the hex you hold. So that was probably a waste. Alright, so we captured Karelia and Western Russia, and we won multiple battles. The British are now moving their turns, or their units. Where are they moving their units to anyway? Looks like there's some combat versus the Japanese off the coast of Japan. Oh, if I do click on it, I can actually see the combat. Okay. Or no, I can't. I can just click on it and see the result by the looks of it. It looks like they lost their aircraft over the in that phase. I don't even know what all the summary of combat moves were. Germany won and took the territory, or we took Karelia. Doesn't even tell me. That's weird. Alright, so now I think it's Japan's turn. So Japan has 30 IPCs, and we can spend it on what? I mean, probably some ships, right? Maybe some air industry. I don't know. Like, what should we spend it on? Two carriers, maybe? Do we get air units with the carriers or no? Okay, so that ends that phase. Now we're moving to combat move. I mean, I don't want anything to do with the South Pacific. This must be post-Midway because it doesn't feel like we've got a ton of carriers. I really don't want to fight the Americans. Geez, they've got a lot of ships. None of these guys can even reach an enemy fleet. We've got 2 air units here. So if we move these guys, they'd be pretty much alone. So no, we're not even going to attack anything there. I mean, maybe we'll attack in China. Can attack Yunnan. Okay, go with a fighter here too. I think the artillery allows your infantry to attack at 2, right? Isn't that the rule? Alright, so there at 4, we can shift some troops around. Oh shoot, I didn't want to do that. Can I undo it? There. I'd rather attack at Yunnan, but I don't want to attack down there. Okay, so 3, 4. We probably can shift one of our troops down here to Kwatong to help with the defensive. So I think that's probably sufficient for the attack there. Let's move this guy into Burma as well, since it's unoccupied. And actually, looks like there's a British fleet over here. So we'll go ahead and move these guys in this way. So we can try and engage the British fleet and destroy them there. Actually, our fighters can attack from over here too. So really make it lopsided. Alright, so I think that's going to do it for that. So combat move. Now we actually get to fight. So let's take a look at this carrier battle here down in the south, a naval battle. Looks like we get a roll 1 for the carrier, 3 for the aircraft, 4 for the battleship versus the enemy carrier, which is at 2 on the defensive. Come on, guys. Someone hit something. Alright, there we go. So we get a hit against the enemy carrier, which I think just dies. It does get to counterattack. And misses. Okay, so we defeated the British Navy off the coast of India. So they lose a carrier, which is worth 14 MPPs. We lose nothing. Then we'll go ahead and fight the Battle of Yunnan. There's 2 Allied infantry units versus the Japanese attack here in southern China. Now, granted, they're just classified as Americans, but it's obviously in the Chinese theater. So our artillery gets our infantry up to 2, basically with supporting fire. So we actually get 4 units here at 2. We actually got 2 hits right away, so we just defeated them. Now they get their counterattacks. Looks like they get 1 hit here. So we'll take 1 against an infantry. I think we had 2 infantry, right? Or did we just have the 1? In any event, the artillery should hold the ground. It's a victory there, 3 versus 6. Yunnan falls to the Japanese. And the phase. So Japan loses 3, the Americans lose 6, the British lose 14. The British are losing quite a bit. So now we need to land our fighters. We'll land some of them. Can I not land them in a newly conquered territory? Doesn't look like I can. So I guess we'll just land them all in Kwatong because it's on the front line. And then for other non-combatant moves, we'll move 1 infantry south. Okay, so that's the other non-combatant move there, and then in the Pacific, I want to move some I want to move some units around. Doesn't look like I move those guys. I don't know if that just represents like convoys or whatever it represents. So let's move this. Oh shit! All right, good. Okay, undo that. All right, let's move some of our ships around. So move this battleship down to the Carolines from Japan. Move this cruiser down to the Carolines as well. I'm going to try and concentrate in the Carolines, the bulk of our fleet. And our air units as well. So we're going to base those guys off the Carolines. Move this destroyer over here. I'm trying to set up for an early mammoth battle against the Americans to try and hit them a little bit hard before they have a chance to get their industry into gear and just overwhelm us. So we'll do that. We'll end the phase. And we've got some mobilization orders here, so new units. We've got I bought 2 carriers. That was a little bit much, maybe. I don't know if I have any need for 2 carriers, but we have 2. And I think that moves it through to the American turn. So you can see here, territories up 2, national production up 2, IPCs up 2. So the Americans are moving some units around, some non-combatant phases. Doesn't look like they actually launched any attacks by the look of it. But they're building up their economy and their industry in round 1. So we're moving into round 2 now. We can see here what the Soviets will do. They're going to move against Western Russia by the looks of it. They're also going to move against Japan here in northern Manchuria. So the Russians are instantly at war with the Japanese, which is a little bit of, I don't know if it's a surprise, but it's just different. You know, obviously they weren't historically at war with the Japanese at this stage. So if we move into the purchase phase here, let's actually take a look at what just happened. This game does a really bad job of explaining what the hell's going on. It gives you an overall war report. So by the looks of it, I don't even know. It doesn't even look like the combat result. It doesn't look like they took Manchuria. It looks like they failed there if they actually attacked, but it wasn't even super clear because it all happened so fast. So Japan actually didn't lose any territory over there. And there wasn't a naval battle in the Carolines. It does look... Nope, they didn't even take the Solomon. Well, the Solomons is already the British. Okay. So I don't really understand what happened. Like, nothing happened. So that's good to know. Nothing happened in North Africa. The Soviets did retake Western Russia with 3 armored units. You can see the British apparently have sent troops in to aid the Russians as well. I mean, I know you can do that in Axis and Allies. I thought there was... Maybe it was Axis and Allies Europe, where, like, if the Allies sent units to Russia, then they get turned into Russian units or something like that. Can't really remember. Yeah. So, Russians have raised 9 infantry units in Russia. That seems fitting. But I think the question is, like, where do we... So for the Germans, where do we counterattack, right? Like, do we move... We've got 2 armored units in Poland that can attack Western Russia. We can use these air units here to attack Western Russia and probably put an infantry unit against Western Russia. We can certainly overwhelm the Russians there and then maybe just kind of hold pat in Ukraine and hope that their other units over here don't counterattack. The other alternative is we could go with our armored units in Poland and Ukraine against the Caucasus. That's worth 4 industrial points. It's also got a factory there. It's got British units as well. You know, they've got 6 defenders versus the 3 in Western Russia. We might be able to make a play at both. It would be really stretching our resources pretty thin, but we could maybe move an infantry unit down south against Western Russia from Karelia. So, I mean, it's certainly something we could try and maybe attack both. The Americans look like they're preparing some kind of counteroffensive here. They moved units into Gibraltar. Got a bunch of transports off the west coast. Also, it looks like the British moved their units out of Egypt. So, Egypt is something we could go after, since they apparently think reinforcing the Soviets is more valuable than holding Libya or Egypt, which is kind of an interesting strategic move. It doesn't look like they have anything. Yeah. So that may be a blunder. I think we could probably take Egypt relatively easily, and then we could make a play for the Caucasus and maybe even Western Russia. Yeah, I don't know. But that would be kind of the next phase, guys. So this is just a really quick look at Axis and Allies, which again is in early access. It's so weird the way they handle combat for the AI. That doesn't really tell you what happens. You have to kind of dig into the game and figure it out. It's a decent remake, I guess. It might be fun to play online with a human opponent, but nothing spectacular here. It's Axis and Allies. It is what it is. Looks reasonably pretty. Looks reasonably well done. The music, the ambiance is pretty solid. Some of the user interface is a little bit not super intuitive with the right-click, left-click situation. I tend to, I had some issues when I first loaded it up scrolling the map. The controls weren't working. Second time I loaded it up, it seemed to work fine. But yeah, it seems like a faithful recreation of Axis and Allies, with the exception that I don't really like as a defender that I can't choose which units I want to take the hits, and as a defender I also can't see what the actual battles look like, and I don't see any options. I've got combat animations on, and yet I can't see that. So for being in early access, it's solid. I just, again, the main complaint I have with this so far is the lack of defensive combat mechanics. That being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and sign out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts below, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm out.